call to order the August 29th Clay County Board Workshop Agenda Summary School Board meeting. Welcome to the citizens of Clay County. We'll take this opportunity to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend today's school board meeting. This meeting is our opportunity as your elected representatives to collaborate openly and make decisions that will decide the future direction of our public schools and the education of our children in Clay County. There will be an opportunity for the public to ask questions at the end of the workshop presentation. Your participation is welcome and appreciated. I'll turn it over to Superintendent Davis.
Thank you, ma'am. So good morning. Thank you everyone for being here. We'll go right into our agenda review. The first, I believe, the 10 items are budget items. Any need for us to go through this, or can we push forward?
That'll be the same as what it was.
Yes, ma'am. Same. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a student showcase?
There is a student showcase.
Okay, so we should be there about
5:45.
5:45.
Yes, ma'am.
And which school is it in?
Orange Park.
Oh,
Orange Park High School. Team players in this early start of the year. The first 10 items are our budget, and we'll go directly to our next items. All right. Is it C1? Sure.
Special meeting. C1 is just the minutes.
Yep, just the minutes. Just the minutes on the board meeting workshop. Go to C2, which is the consent agenda. Personnel consent agenda. Nothing that.
I had a question about that.
Sure.
On there, I saw that we're appointing FLICA teachers.
Yeah, this year we absorb FLICA teachers, but so they're under our umbrella. But it's a pass through of money that I believe the military has raised in order to push money to us, and we'll give them money back to them to pay them. So there was a concern with there's concern about their ability to host and have and provide support with, I believe, insurance as well with their certificated teachers. So we just absorb the teachers so that it can continue, put it under our umbrella so we can continue to make it, allow this to exist.
And that doesn't, we don't have any issues there with the fact that we eliminated the position that we had before that was over that or anything?
Mr. Wingate's taken over leadership. I'm thinking historically he may have had her.
Any other questions? No?
All right, C3 is the best and the brightest. This is just just reviewing state statute to identify the best and the brightest scholarships that will be put in place for 17-18. Every effective, highly effective teacher will receive $1,200 in our organization. Every effective teacher will receive $800 in the organization. And there's also a $6,000 proposed amount for a scholarship for those who qualify through ACT and SAT as well. This is pass-through money to the state. And I think we had last year around 205 instructional staff members, and I think we'll are projected to have the same number of individuals that qualify for best and brightest as well.
205?
205 last year.
Do we have any idea how many of the, I know that all of our teachers are highly effective and effective. And it's my understanding that bands were coming into play this year.
In reference to evaluations, but nothing with the best and brightest. Well, best and brightest identified for who is considered highly effective and effective. So we are in the process of reviewing all of our data for, we had some preliminary data that was shared through Mr. Brodsky to Mrs. Paiva recently. Okay. We're in the process of making certain that all of the analysis that we have conducted through our research and accountability shop, that's Mr. Amber, that they're really looking at every assessment to make sure it was an accurate assessment, accurate information, and all agreed upon assessments for baseline and end of the year assessments to determine whether or not one is deemed to be highly effective or effective. And that is half of, state statute requires we have a performance measure, and whether that performance measure we talked about, some are PERT, some are in-house assessments, some are using VAM. And then the other half is the district administrative evaluation of a teacher which is agreed upon through collective bargaining as well. So just putting those two data points together to determine whether or not who's highly effective and effective. As of right now, openly, there is a number of teachers will have moved from the range of highly effective to effective, as outlined in the second half of the component of the assessment. So we're just making certain that we have valid information that's all linked to the 16-17 school year. Now, as it relates to 17-18, House Bill 7069 indicates we do not have to use VAM, but we just need to get with Mr. Roski and Ms. Pipa in the near future to define our performance measures moving forward for 17.
And just a quick clarification, when you're talking this year for the highly effective and effective, we're basing it on 2016, 17.
That's correct.
Okay. And we're talking classroom teachers.
That's correct.
Now, this is what I'm very confused. Because guidance counselors are considered a classroom teacher.
They're not.
So guidance counselors are considered faculty,
They are?
but they're not considered classroom teachers, so
No, no.
they don't have any effect on this best and brightest.
No, ma'am.
Or on the extra scholarship.
Same thing with media specialists. If you
Yeah.
read through the statute, it has them broken down by different
Right.
sections.
And I think that's directly linked, and Mr. Brosker, Ms. Piva, is directly linked to, I guess, kids that are associated with them in the classroom and the kids that actually service them every day in the grind. Let's go back deeper. I mean, they touch
We could
kids,
go
but it's
into
not,
I know
yeah.
that we could go into a
for the-
philosophical.
Yeah,
teachers
it's not me,
and-
I get it, I think
understand,
everyone should.
I
For
understand,
the
but that's.
16-17 school year, we use the VAM score, not the PERC or anything else.
No,
We
you
just
use a combination.
we use a
So
combination.
some use the VAM. If you had a state assessment for FSA and EOC, you would use the VAM, look at the value added model. For those who didn't have an FSA or EOC, they may have used a PERT, and some may have used a district assessment that was formulated through Performance Matters.
And so who chose that? The principal?
No ma'am, it was the district along with, which was bargaining with the union.
So I thought there was also a school VAM score that's generated.
There is.
Okay, and that
The school VAM score would be applied to those people that are assigned to a school level position, but don't have any teaching, any students.
yeah,
So for example, if state statute says that everyone has to be attached to some form of performance measure, a school guidance counselor wouldn't have students, so they would be an example of somebody that would get the school-wide VAM.
Right, and I don't know this to be true, but I've heard from several teachers that have said they're actually, there's a belief that those people could actually improve on their evaluation from effective to highly effective, where there are teachers who are gonna go from highly effective to effective because of their VAM score.
Right, but
Mr. Broski, give me an example of one of those. Is it a reading specialist or what? I mean, it's not
for school-wide
for
VAM,
school-wide.
What about a
maybe.
classroom?
It's not a
teacher?
classroom teacher.
right,
So-
it would be anybody that doesn't have students assigned to them in focus. So if you don't have any classes of a sort,
Coaches.
so at the school level or the district level, it could be folks like curriculum specialists, could be district reading coaches, could be guidance counselors at the school level.
You just said guidance counselors didn't qualify.
They
Not
don't-
for
they
best
don't
and
qualify.
None of
brightest.
these,
Best-
none of these.
For best and brightest, you
brightest.
have to qualify under the statute that's cited there in the backup, which is very specific, okay?
Classroom
So,
teacher.
classroom teacher.
So what about like, how is a PE teacher given their VAM?
A PE teacher, under the system, would in fact be used a local performance assessment.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think they went to, I think the PERT,
No, the PE teachers went to
ELA,
ELA, and that's
yeah.
what they're furious about.
Yeah.
So this is what,
Okay,
this,
that's what
So
it
those
is.
So
are,
this is me coming
So
in,
choose-
and Mr. Broski and Ms. Piva know coming in, I had concerns about the way the measures that were selected for VAM, how you calculated VAM. Because truly what should happen, and I'll be honest with you, we just don't have the money to buy assessments, and we don't have the money to pay teachers to sit down and write the assessments. So every content area should really have a pre-test or a post-test that are written and developed either by our own instructional staff members, or we buy a bank of assessments throughout the state that are proven to be effective, that align with our state standards that we could use and protect. The issue is that when you go to buy and purchase assessments and a bank of assessments, they're really expensive. So, I mean, hats off to Mr. Brasi and Ms. Paiva trying to figure out what best fits that they can do, and then at the same time keep it in a keep it aligned to a financial decision as well. But I mean, you have I think that we talked about PERT months and months ago. Ms. Conner brought it up, and I believe that Spanish and French may use PERT as well.
286 courses went on the PERT.
Yeah.
In
So
our school system.
yeah.
And that was done, the district alone submits that to the state, the framework. And that was submitted in April of 2015. I have never seen the one March or April of 2016 or what was submitted then. I have never seen that information whatsoever. But you not only have that, so I would suspect you're right, Ms. Condon, in what you said. I have not seen the data, but I would suspect all the district people that take the district VAM, so all your curriculum specialists and all your staffing specialists and all them will go up, and the people that are absolutely affected by deciding to use the VAM score, and 7069 doesn't make you use the VAM score, is going to go down.
And I think that's where the misconception is. So I think that maybe with our employees, there's a misconception that because 7069 makes the VAM optional, that there won't be a measure, that it will then be just the district assessment, which we know to be true. But I'm just saying, from listening to teachers, and I spent the entire football game Friday night and listening to teachers talk. I guess they had just gotten their scores or whatever, so they kind of had an inkling. And granted, it was the first time you get a piece of information, and it's probably not the whole piece of information, and they don't have the opportunity to ask questions. But I do think there's a misconception, because what I was asked was, why are you guys going back and causing all this work for somebody to have to go back and cross-reference these scores that are going to negatively affect us? I even had a teacher say to me, remember the year that the geometry and algebra 2 EOCs got crossed, and so they said they would only count it for the student if it helped the student, but if it hurt the student, they didn't use it. There was a suggestion by a teacher of, well, you guys could always decide to only use it if it helps us, not penalize us. And so I really didn't understand. Now I have a better understanding.
Can we go back and do that? Can we use, I know they just passed this legislature that said we don't have to use the VAM, and we're talking about the 16, 17, but do we have that option?
I don't believe we have the option to go back and adjust and refine the measures that we're selected to use as it relates to performance. I can definitely work with Mr. Brasi to reach out to the state and see if that's an option, but I don't believe. I think it's just moving forward to 17, 18.
Our plan moving forward is to validate the data first, and then get together with Ms. Paiva and her group and take a look at each teacher by teacher, those that were affected, and look to see, is there something we can do for that?
I would really appreciate you.
I believe in some cases we can in fact do something.
Something's wrong.
But I believe in some cases you can't. You won't be able to.
And I openly have said it from day one, I'm not a fan of the current structure, and we got to work to get better for 17, 18. So I'm open to review and determine what we got to do to make it right. But I can't professionally cross the line, if that makes sense.
And let me ask one more thing, and I think you said that, told me this already, but the money that comes from this does not come out of the general fund, it's state dollars.
State dollars, yeah.
Right.
So if everyone,
for Western Brightest, but it does
But
come.
we're negotiating with you, and it's highly effective and effective.
So for our own
it does
performance
For our own,
pay.
it matters, okay.
May I ask something?
Wait, say
How
that
many
again?
teachers went from highly effective to effective?
Right now, I would say I would not. I don't want to give that number because we're
Give me a
consistently.
ballpark.
It's over 300, it's like
Are we
300.
talking 100, 200,
Again, I would say I want to stay away from giving a number right now because I want to continue to look at the data to give you
the
accurate
original
information.
number, for example, if we didn't use any performance measure calculation in which we were attempting to affect the least number of teachers, it would have gone to, I think, Brunley, that initial red chart was like
350.
No, the red chart above that was unbelievable. It was almost half. Okay,
that tells you something's wrong.
Well, everybody knows VAM is not an indicator of good teaching.
Right.
So you're fighting a fight that is ridiculous. I always hate to be part of this fight, because any educator would tell you VAM is not an indicator of good teaching. So that wasn't the purpose of it. I don't know how you have that when
So
you're here.
essentially, I would say that we're still validating the data, but we're at about 250. No teacher, not a single teacher went to needs improvement or unsatisfactory as a result of
But you
applying
had
student performance measures.
250.
About 250 would be a guess,
Well,
be less than that.
said,
Well, it went down
no, it's
100.
right now.
Yeah.
And I
And
honestly.
we hope to
the
bring that
reason-
number down even
the reason I
further
wanna give a
when we
number,
meet.
because that number's
You're
gonna go
trying to
away
tell
too,
me
it's gonna go down.
and this board that we had 350 or 250 or whatever number, big number, who from one year to the next year went from highly effective to effective.
Yes, ma'am. It's worth 1/3 of your evaluation is the student performance measure. And the cutoff, the criteria for highly effective is 85. So when you take a look at that, 33 from 100 is going to be less than 85. Keep in mind, a teacher, based on the current system, a teacher that had 0 students proficient, not a single student passed the test, would get 16 of those 33 points. So the system is designed to be favorable towards teachers.
That's true.
It's not designed to hurt teachers. And when we meet, if there's something else that we can do to help teachers that's within the statute, we'd be glad to do it and get that number down even further.
Clarification, Ms. Bola, so what I was saying was, it may not affect Best and Brightest from our financial standpoint because we don't pay, that's just a pass-through for
Right.
state dollars.
Right.
But it does affect the performance pay. If, you know how we had to adopt that new salary structure
Right.
last year? So in the event that there is a raise given if a teacher is highly effective.
But this is a one-time shot, isn't it? The $1,200 and the
No, no, no,
$800
they're
is
two
one.
different things.
Yeah, so the Best and Brightest is.
Best and Brightest is based on
Yeah,
SAT.
so that gives you either get 1,200 or 800, and then you can qualify for 6,000.
Right.
What Ms. Condon and Ms. Pine was talking about, when last year we negotiated a raise, and the raise was connected to performance.
Got it.
So a certain threshold for the highly effective, you got $700, and
understand.
effective you
I
got
understand.
$500. So if that number changes, there'd be a 250 currently, which that number's going to change, could change. I'm not gonna say it's going to change. Then that's I mean.
That would
Times
be
that by
a
$200
difference.
and then
And
that's the
not
number.
to mention the
I understand.
6,000
I
they
missed
would have
that
gotten for
section.
Which-
Best and Brightest,
I missed
so,
that.
you know,
Right.
that's a substantial amount
Yeah.
of money.
Well, the Best and Brightest is still pass-through money and it doesn't attach to a
But
But it's
a
still the
permanent
amount that
salary.
they would have been
And that's the
receiving.
whole,
Yeah.
the whole
Not that it's
But-
coming out
band
of our
in here,
budget.
it gives extra money, but it doesn't
Right.
apply to the
Right.
salary that someone's receiving.
They're
And that-
bonuses.
It's a bonus, it's
It's a
a
3-year
scholarship.
bonus.
Yeah.
That the state is under 7069 for 3 years. They will do this pass-through money for the 1,200 and the 800, if there's enough money. Whatever it's
There's the
called.
key right
We
there.
seem not to have that problem.
Yeah.
But, and the other thing is the 6,000 that's attached to their SAT scores,
Mhm.
which
It's
is
still-
different. All those affect classroom teachers only?
Mhm. And it also
Correct.
affects their taxes, but it doesn't affect,
As a bonus
it
tax.
doesn't build
So
on their
it's
salary.
probably
Part
half.
of
That's the
ability,
key. The other quick question that I have, what test is used for kindergarten, first, second, and third?
Kindergarten is a kindergarten foundational assessment that we
Okay.
used. First and second.
Do any of those?
Set 10.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And while you're talking testing, have we still eliminated all local assessments?
No, we have not, and actually.
What happened? Last year, we
Yeah,
were so
no.
excited that you eliminated
We
them.
eliminate for a number of reasons. Well, we have to have we have a baseline assessment. Actually, I don't know, most of my colleagues, it should have been on this agenda item, but I'll send it to you for the testing. There's baseline assessments that we have to have, because we purchased iReady and we purchased Achieve, so that we'll have baseline assessments in both of those. And then you have a baseline assessment in any FSA or EOC that is extended. And that baseline assessment is taking place now, at the beginning of the school year. And then the window will stop, let's just say within the next 2 weeks. And then teachers will teach all year, and then we'll do another mid-year because we have to have a progress monitoring plan for the state. So by us having a beginning of the year and a mid-year, that gives us the analytics we need to submit to the state to show we have a progress monitoring plan, and that's all the assessments that we'll have. So we won't have along the way 9 weeks assessments that we drive from the district level. We'll just have beginning of the year for a diagnostic, and that diagnostic is beautiful because what it does for iReady and G3000, it really tailors and prescribes a learning path for a kid. And then when they go on and interact with Achieve or iReady, it has a scaffold approach to allow them to meet grade level expectations or enrichment expectations to push them to a different grade level.
So every kid, 4th through 12th, will take the Achieve 3000 and the iReady test?
Yes, ma'am. Well,
4 through 10.
4 through 10 will take Achieve. K through 3 will take Literacy, and then K through 8 would take Mathematics. Other than that, all the other battery assessments they used to offer, all those were punted. So, I'll send that to you.
Well,
think
so
there's a
you
science
did send
performance
us the
standards also.
assessment
Calendar?
calendar, but what it hasn't happened, and I've had it on my list to bring up, is it hasn't appeared on a board agenda
That's right, it needs to be on
And it
there.
has to be by October 1,
Yes, ma'am.
so we need to catch it.
Should have been on this one. So yeah, we did a lot with getting rid of untimely assessments.
You should add it.
Yes, ma'am. It should have been on this one. So my
We
notes.
can,
Um,
all right, any other questions about Best and Brightest? All right, let's move on.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, this is the C4 Art Enrichment. This is for our continued work with Mrs. Butler for 17-18 school year.
Do all of our
There's-
elementaries now have art teachers?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's a correction or
Okay.
two that I would like on this page.
Okay.
The art enrichment program's been in effect in Clay County for 35 years.
Okay.
And last year they reached 16,000 students, and the year before it was 12,000 students. And I don't know the exact number of how many items, but it's in the 7,000 to 8,000, an 8,000 piece range. And I'll get those actual numbers and send them to Dr. Stallman. Do you want me to send them to you?
That's good.
I'll send them to you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just wanted to accurately reflect what she's been doing.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, C5, and go back to it. So many kids are so excited to be in art music. It is, I mean, they're really awesome. Teacher too. C5 is just addendum to contract to G3000. One of the things that we realized is that we needed to connect and offer AMI, CVA, and PACE with a G3000. So this is a $2,800 addendum to making certain that they have access to this curricula as well.
I was gonna question that. I get the CVA part,
Yeah.
because they're part of us. AMI and PACE, I don't understand that.
Is it just a
So-
pass-through and they're paying for it and not us?
We're paying for it.
So our contracted service with them actually entails that we provide certain things that we're using as supplemental resources. So we can go and adjust that contract in the future, but with our current contract, we're kind of obligated to give them the Achieve since that's what we're using.
Does that mean we provide the computers as well?
I'm not sure about technology as far as hardware.
So what have we provided in the past before we've done this?
I can have Mike Wingate take over
Probably
that.
textbooks and things. For PACE particularly, some of those young ladies go into PACE for a year and then come back into our school system.
That's correct.
So if they go
We
into
want that
PACE for
data
that
on them.
year or whatever, and I know some go to graduate as well, but if they're coming back into our curriculum, we want them to be.
I'm not trying to sound unsupportive.
Mhm.
Certainly, I think they're good programs, but I think this is our money, this is our kids' money. We're losing the FTE. So how we would pay for this for traditional Clay County public school kids, we don't have the money to pay for this, so that money's gotta come from somewhere else.
Yeah, I
So how are we
disagree
paying
with you.
for it?
This is going through, I believe it's just going through general, and it's correct. And from our side, we'll go back and look at the contract. I believe the prior contract, the way it was developed, that we have to offer this. We'll have Mr. Daga look at it again, not again today, but through our analysis, and through conversations, we have to offer this as supplemental materials. If we do not, we'll find out in the next 24 hours, and we'll remove this and have conversations with PACE and AMI.
The financial impact says 2,856. Is that just divided by 3 for the each, or is it based on the number of students?
Yeah, it's the actual license per student, roughly $40-something per student.
Do they have the tech to support this program? Because it's kind of a moot point if they can't use it.
I'll have to go back and look and see what they have.
I guess I feel like it's a little bit of a
I
liability
think
from
so.
our standpoint, that we don't do professional development with these teachers, so they're not trained on how to, I know y'all did a whole lot of work this summer with,
Right.
teachers and how to analyze the data, use the data, communicate to parents about the data. It just is a real concern of mine, and that's why I was asking what we have done in the past.
Yeah, I'll look at it.
Was it just an oversight that Clay Virtual Academy was
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
included? And were they trained?
We will get, everybody was trained.
They have been trained. They were
Because
part
they're
of
our teachers. I
Yeah.
mean, they're part of
They're just
On
waiting
public
on the
school
licenses
system.
and to be able to interact. Well, we'll look at it and we'll have Mr. Dagger look at it and make sure that we say yes or no, and if he says no, then we'll strike, and if not, we'll continue to push forward. All right, out-of-state travel, out-of-state and overnight field trips. This is all through CTE conferences and competitions. They continue to do a great job to put this information out front. There's only one that has already occurred, and that's because it's the chapter president conference. That's because they moved the conference date 3 times, and we had to make an adjustment on the fly. But everything else is throughout the entire year, and they're ready. C7 is the Unmanned Safety Institute STEM curriculum. This is our agreement with Embry-Riddle. This is where we pay $3,500 for resources and professional development for our teachers. And what we do here is we get an enormous amount of students who pass the industry certification assessments through this partnerships and resources for our teachers. C8 is our interpreter service for Alonzo Sign Language. This is for ESC students, and we have 14 students right now are engaged in this process. C9 is through the same thing as somewhat of a backup through Pretech. This is another American Sign Language. We don't have students that are actively engaged under this umbrella as of yet, but we just want to make certain that we have additional resources provided if needed moving forward for students with disabilities. Parent liaison service contract. This is our liaison service for students for advocate between the school district and parents as it relates to students with disabilities. This is required by IDEA to have this liaison, and this is just our contract for part-time personnel. C11 is transition coach contract that will go from 17 to 2019. This is a part-time position that will help individuals to transition with disabilities who are not on general diploma, will transition from our school system to college transitions and help them. Currently we have 3 kids that we are providing supports for. The next one is therapy services. This is for hearing evaluations for our kids. This is where teachers are referred in any existing students who may need audio or hearing aids or determine any kind of therapy that may be provided. This is through microphone or headset devices as well. C13 is Episcopal Children's Service Head Start. This is a 3 or 4 year old program for students with disabilities. This is our continued our partnership with them in our MOU. C14 is the Clay Behavior Pediatrics contract for 17-18. This is for an alternative education support systems for students who may need additional services and supports in the Keystone area.
So it's actually not. It's Keystone Behavioral is out of Jacksonville. It's a separate company, and there was an article on First Coast News yesterday about their owners and allegations, and there was an arrest made, and it's all about it's basically federal fraud. Basically, is a synopsis, and I was just concerned. I had just read this on our agenda, and I just wanted to bring it to y'all's attention to.
Well, I have Ms. Roth look into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big deal here.
And I saw it on literally like Google News, and then opened it up in First Coast News, it popped up. So I don't know if it drew the name correlation between Keystone Heights and Keystone, but they're separate. Yeah.
I'll
They
look
show
at
the
it
picture of their
for
building.
students. I'll look at it and see if
It is a big contract.
thank you.
And it was a situation where, I mean, it gets messy. It's a husband and wife, and he got arrested and had these allegations, and they're thinking he's gonna turn against her as like federal evidence or whatever. Anyway,
Not good.
maybe it's not a problem.
No, 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 no,
Go
no.
too much into it.
No,
It may not be a problem.
No,
I just
sounds like we
wasn't
wanna
sure
look
we wanted
into it.
already to talk about
Maybe we can find somebody else, if we can find someone else.
Yes, oh my God.
And this is an ongoing contract from 2015, so I mean, this is a new one from this one, so.
We
All I can
get
say
enough
is
bad press.
Thank you for bringing that.
Sure.
I wish you had called him immediately.
Well, literally, it was like
11 o'clock
Last night.
last night.
Oh, well, he would have been up.
I would.
He's texting and emailing. That's
I
when he
was
does
laying
his
in
work.
bed.
C-15 resolution for RISE contract. This is just focused on, this is our contract with our attorney that focuses on ESE law and continues to provide guidance through IDA. C-16 is Clay Behavior Health Center Agreement. This provides mental health and therapeutic services to students who have IEPs.
Wait, can we go back to the last
Sure,
one? Are you saying we contract with one more attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have we been contracting with this?
Since 2011.
I've never seen this proposal.
Since
Betsy,
20.
do you recognize it?
I had never seen it before, I thought it was new.
I thought it was new too.
The previous outcome says the district has contract services with RISE since 2011.
And what do they do?
This is has historical provided district with excellent compliance, audit results, fiscal savings, and successful gains.
Where,
That's in the previous outcome.
where are they from? Is this attorney right here locally? Mr. Dagger, are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
Mobile.
And is this
Resolution.
something
Oh, is
that
mobile?
Mr. Dagger could be handling?
I can have Ms. Roth
Resolution is special issue.
look at it for ESC.
14,200. I don't think I've ever seen this one before.
I don't think.
Anybody recognize
I don't
this?
recognize.
I'd like some more information on this.
Sure.
Do we know the name of the attorney or an attorney with that?
I'd like to know who and where.
You need to talk with Carrie Hawk about that.
Yeah, I'll get an update for you.
Consultant provides.
Where does it say that it's an attorney? I keep reading consultant.
Yeah, consultation and services.
Just consultation
for
services.
See, and I didn't
Requirements for
realize
legal
that until
mandates.
he just said it's an attorney. That just made
Never
me
heard.
think, wait a minute, one more attorney?
Yeah.
Services provided.
We need more
Provide
information on
assistance
this.
Sure.
in areas of procedure.
And I'll give, I'll let her go all the way back to 11
And-
to demonstrate it's been here forever. Oh, since
But
11.
I'd like to know if this is an attorney, the name and the location, and I'd like to know what they do. I mean, I
Are you
realize.
certain this is an attorney, Mr. Davis?
Yeah, this is, well, it's a contract with a firm that helps and assists with IDA students with disabilities. So they support policy, they look at services, consult with services. It may be more of a, I say
Sounds like
attorney,
case management.
it could be more of a consult for us to let us, to keep us mainstream in line with liabilities and relates to IDA. If that's something that after we continue to review that we want to cease this opportunity and provide Mr. D'Agata with the opportunity to lead, we just need to make certain that that we feel that, I'm just going to say this, my staff feels comfortable, allow Mr. D'Agata to lead, not saying lead this work through IDA, because that's something that I'm not willing to stretch or to cut corners.
Can you provide us with some more information?
Or if not, or if it still needs to be outsourced, it's probably the financial threshold that doesn't require it, but I guess my question would be competitive bidding.
Yeah.
Like, how much has it gone up since 2011? How much are we spending? How much?
I would just point out, I don't think this would fall under an attorney's purview. If you read that last sentence under gap analysis, furthermore, the consultant provides assistance in the development of plans and implementation of evaluation methodologies to address state performance plan indicators. That's not something.
And that's
No.
specifically for ESC students.
Right.
Correct.
And I get
So,
it, and I agree, I think
based
it
on-
sounds more like consulting services, I guess. As a board member authorizing it, I would feel more comfortable,
No, we won't.
not accusing at all, but knowing this is not somebody's friend that
Oh,
we've
yeah.
just worked with for
Oh,
6
gotcha.
years.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good.
Thank you, we'll just bring that,
Yes,
email
ma'am.
it to
Yep.
us.
I will.
As the crickets.
That's
Like,
fine. No, that's
Sorry.
fine.
I feel like that's normal.
Next one is C-16 is Clay Behavioral Health Center Agreement. This provides mental health therapeutic services identified for students who have IEPs. This is strictly for ESE students in this relationship and agreement, not the overall Clay Behavioral. C17 is Mainstream Academy contract. This is the student that we continue to provide student services in the Keystone area through IDA funding. C18 is SEDNet and ESE supports contract. This is a contract between us and the SEDNet, which focused on emotional behavior supports for our kids and focused on mental health.
And this is a 2-year contract, or is that a typo?
Yes.
This is not a contract with SEDNet, this is a contract with an individual that supports a support thing, it's not, SEDNet, we don't contract with SEDNet.
SEDNet's part of us.
Yeah, SEDNet is 3 counties, that's, you have to kind of explain this.
Sorry.
They are a multi-agency network, but I think this is.
Yeah, my understanding is a 2-year agreement, yes ma'am.
I guess sometimes what the statement that makes me a little bit uncomfortable, but I get what they're saying. I know what they're saying. I believe the intention, but where it says long-standing contract, those kind of raise. Not on this, I don't have
Well, we've
concerns
always
about
done it
this
this way, so
Yeah.
we continue doing it.
Yeah, and then,
I mean, that would depend on your definition of long-standing, because it says it's been in place since 2014.
Right. But on some of the other ones, I've seen that too.
Right.
But this is not a contract with SEDNet program.
We're gonna try to get Tara off there to show, well, from close up, so she can help you.
This is with Community Social Services and Family Support Services.
Family support.
Needs available is required under the ID.
This person is what,
Under agreement.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're
it's the
contracting
same.
with the person, not the SEDNet agency.
Right.
Mr. Dumos is for ownership. Alright, C19, IDA entitlement grant B and part B for preschool. This is just our entitlement grant, and it outlines what we actually spend our funding on as it relates to preliminary dollars, how we look at whether it's supplement child identification activities, looking at on-site consult interpretation, and continue to work with our kids, and identifies also opportunities for preschool students as well through an allocation. C20 is approval of out-of-county travel for our students. As you can see, we have a number of kids going through ROTC, Spanish band, chorus, and activities, all in which
I'm ready to go with the original course.
the Clay High School should come off because that's the county.
It was
Chaperone.
Yeah.
I talked to Rice about a number of opportunities,
Overnight is why it's
Especially if
on.
the band goes to Ireland.
See, we got Nashville coming up.
Alright, C21, this is 17, this is our agreement with dual enrollment articulation agreement, which is a 3-year agreement with University of North Florida. This is for students who are taking online classes, so we're doing dual enrollment. We only have a handful of kids that are taking this, but when kids start engaging and taking these type of classes, you gotta have some kind of articulation agreement.
Just great.
Is it always a 3-year contract?
I don't know historically, but I would say that,
It is.
yeah, I would say it would
Kind of shaking her
3-year.
head.
I think so, I think it's always like a 3-year contract
Yeah.
when you do that.
We just not revisit every year. C22 is our agreement between the school board and also the Department of Military Affairs. This is FLICA. This is, FLICA is going to, it's around $625,000 to run it. We are, the only commitment that we are extending as a school district is the FTE dollars, which means it'll be around $177,000 that we will give them to continue this program.
We're paying the faculty though, right? Faculty get all the privileges.
Well, yeah, everything.
so a question about that. It had been a bone of contention before that they were counted in our school grade. If we're administering the program and we are hiring their faculty and treating them as employees and that kind of thing, are they going to count in our school grade?
So right now, they're under the umbrella where they do not have a school grade. So we're back and forth with the state because we kind of put them under a DJJ, but it's, you know, and there's conflict whether it's a DJJ or not a DJJ. So we're trying to figure out finalize whether or not they will get a school grade or not. At this point, that we push them to change it, but they did get a school grade. So, and we will continue to because they only have a small percentage of kids that actually even are, so that we're pushing the state to make sure that they align and show the type of activities and the type of school they are, because it really truly is an alternative site, and they should receive a grade. So,
Just the name I don't receive.
Just have a couple questions. There's 8 faculty there.
I agree. That's why we pushed them to push the state to change their identification of whether or not they were obtained and receive a grade. Yes, ma'am.
There's 8 faculty there, and they came from us. 2, in fact, are union members. And I'm going out there today to speak to the rest of them because they, of course, have entitlement to our sick leave bank and all that stuff they don't know about. I imagine the rest of them might not know about it, and I don't know where the rest of them get. But my question is, the FE dollars that we get, is it enough to cover their salaries? Because I see some of them are higher levels than I am. That's been hired there.
It's
so.
a combination
Yeah.
of both.
It's our money for FTE and the money that they're giving to us. So we're going to invoice them to give us funding, and our funding will go to them, to our teachers. So we're good.
It's a combination of both to support.
So it does not actually costing any of our money out of general funds. Between their FTE and what they're paying us
No.
is covering their insurance and and salary and everything.
Everything's being paid.
The budget for this time.
That was part of our agreement moving forward, because we're not going to sit there and can't continue to have a program, to pay a program that we can't forward fund, especially in our kids. Can I ask at this time that we go back, or you want to go back? So I'd ask to go back to Keystone Behavioral pediatrics contract, Ms. Roth. So Ms. Condon said there was something in the news late last night around 11 o'clock about potential fraud. So,
Okay.
So we kind of need to look into that one.
We'll certainly do that.
Determine whether or
It was
not.
on First Coast News, but not on the actual, I've read it.
Okay, I'll certainly look at that. I know they've had some hiccups with Medicaid on the other side of the house when they're doing some therapy. I don't.
Maybe that's what it
That
was.
may be what it's a reference to.
It was a long article about children receiving services that are billing for services children weren't actually receiving.
Okay, I can tell you that the services that we are getting for this particular youngster, we are receiving. We do have folks that are there monitoring what's going on. So in this case, for that one little young'un, that I can speak to, you know, whether there's some other issues with their billing or finance, I'll certainly look into that. If that just happened, that's
Yep.
breaking
We
news.
just want to know
and news
prior,
to
it
me. Sure.
is breaking news to us as well.
Of course.
And we just want to know before we go to the board,
Yep.
whether or not we're engaging into a healthy contract. So.
Of course.
The other thing we had was C15 with resolution with RISE, the special education contract 1718. I explained to the board this has been here since 2011. Can you explain the purpose and what they actually offer through this contract of service?
Absolutely. The contract is with Julie Weatherly and her firm. She is one of the leading special education attorneys in the country. She provides us not legal advice, but direction on policies and procedures. Sometimes she'll suggest in a certain situation, we might want to look at this. We've had occasion when Mr. Daggett and I have talked about references or records and maybe how to proceed. She has certainly kept me from having many more sleepless nights than sometimes we do. Definitely, if you go to any of the legal conferences across the country on special education, she is almost always at the peak billing. She will come in and provide training. We've had her come in and do training on 504 and discipline for our administrators in the past. So yeah, she's. I would strongly recommend, and we pay for that typically out of IDEA, I believe.
It is.
And it's strongly, I would strongly encourage you to support and continue that.
Where are they located?
They have a Florida, now they do have a Florida office. She is actually based in Alabama. And she serves, excuse me, yeah, Alabama. I can't believe I just said that as a Florida girl.
And what's the name of her company?
It's Resolutions in Special Education.
And Julie Weatherly
Yes, ma'am.
is her firm?
That's her name. Her firm name is Resolutions in Special Education. But she is very much a leading expert. She contracts with a lot of districts across the Southeast, a lot in Florida, just to provide, again, you know, for example, when the recent Supreme Court hearing came out last spring on regarding special education, the next day she had a narrative about these are some things that you're going to want to look at and incorporate into your policies.
And can I ask a question?
14,000?
So it's not to exceed 14,000? Has historically have we spent up to 14,000?
Yes, it's divided typically into 3 or 4 payments.
I gotcha. And has she had a significant increase of rates from 2011? I mean, I know.
It has
Your
been the same
contract
rate
is
since 2011.
Yeah. And Terry, has this come to us, has this come to us before? We
Yes,
just
ma'am.
didn't recognize
Every
it.
year.
And we were like, does anybody remember seeing this?
Every
Well,
year.
it sounds like, what is it, 14,000 did y'all say? Total. Sounds like
Well
to
spent.
me that that's good protection.
Yeah. Thank you for
I
explaining.
didn't do a good job as you just did.
And you know, it's.
I got it right though, an attorney or doing ASC, I
It
did.
said, this is an attorney we're paying, and I went, wait a minute, another attorney?
I
So
said,
we just need a
He
clarification.
was-
I appreciate the explanation
Thank you.
on the record so that the
Yeah.
public knows. that-
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, to about AMI as far as the contract, I'm gonna share.
Sure.
So regarding AMI, we had talked about providing those services. So we haven't done that in the past, but their contract does state that the board will provide access to online instructional programming, including Virtual School Compass and any other online curriculums adopted by the district. So that's where they
But
have
is
reached
this-
out to us, and
However,
so,
we haven't adopted this curriculum, this is a supplement,
Yeah.
and we have not adopted it. We have approved a contract for it, but we've not adopted any
No.
curriculum, so
No. Well, we'll have-
technically, we haven't adopted it, you know?
So I'll have Mr. Daggett read the contract today. We'll get back.
Which even for our own, you know, we need to be adopting a curriculum.
Well-
This is a supplement to the curriculum.
Yeah, you don't adopt supplement the curriculum, you adopt regular, core content. So supplement will never be adopted, it'll just come to the board as we did this year.
Well, I
So
thought
do
that
we have
part
to
of-
provide supplements?
And I
Was
thought-
the word supplement in that contract?
I'm sorry.
no,
we're
the
all
word
interrupting
supplement's
you.
is not specifically in there, it just says other online curriculum programs.
So I guess one of my concerns about this, frankly, is that we had discussed that because of technological issues and infrastructure, we actually can't offer all of our own students access to all of these things that we're trying to,
Yep.
and we're trying to get there. And so it just seems counterintuitive that we would offer, that we would pay for something for students.
Licenses,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mr. Connor, how many students do they have at PACE and AMI? It's like.
Yeah,
It's like 90.
It's really under 20 at each of those sites. Yeah, a very small number of students.
Still
Do
up
they-
90, right?
Do they have their own set of curricula or do they use what we use?
Yeah, they follow pretty much what we use.
So it makes sense if the point is reintegration.
Well, from the side of it, because most of them will transition back for a year.
Right.
And then we'll have some data to determine whether or not their lifestyle level from Achieve 3000, and also we'll have their
So it has
baseline
some
mid-year end of
advantages to
assessment from
us.
iReady, so that teachers could potentially use as they transition over to us.
We can, well, I hate to say it this way, but we can also evaluate those programs based on some of that information as well.
And it seems like it would be beneficial to the teachers that are absorbing those students back in.
I guess my beef with it is the cost,
Yes.
and that we didn't evaluate this cost when we evaluated the program, that how much we were putting into it, especially with AMI, because we provide them, and I don't know, I can't remember all the specifics of that contract, but we provide them space on our campus
Yeah.
and.
We do, we do. We'll look into it. So right now, okay.
Any other questions? All right.
C23 is continued partnership with the New Teacher Project with Leadership Development. This is who we partnered with for our Leadership Institute this summer, for our three-day Leadership Institute, which focused on understanding the shifts, looking at ELA mathematics lessons to better understanding item specs and standards, to understand the foundational practices of how to create meaningful bite-sized feedback, to really leveraging curriculum to how to walk through a classroom and really better support a learner versus a teacher versus a top-down approach, and looking at how to create collaborative structures and colleagues. And this is ongoing for building the capacity of not only our principals, but our assistant principals as well to be engaged and will benefit as we turnkey the information. But this will be paid out of our leadership development grant that's provided by the state.
And this is training just for principals and APs?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you say there's another training coming soon?
Oh, yeah, we'll have
What's the date for that?
the Tuesday, September 12th, an extremely powerful, heavy training on all of those dates. It's really awesome.
And your board members are invited?
More than welcome. I just invited you to the new teacher orientation, and I wanted to make sure I had the agenda for the 12th before I invited you, but you are invited. This is really awesome work if you can come see it. It's deep, really deep, really deep. You want to come? You wanna-
When's the new teacher orientation?
20th and 21st, or?
Yeah.
This is a repeat of what was done in August, really.
For people who just hired.
People that have been just hired.
Just hired.
Since school started.
So we just don't want to hire people.
But
Yeah,
I can send
I didn't
you-
know anything about the one in August either, because people were asking about that.
Okay, I will
Yeah.
My
send
board
you.
specifically was asking, because we've asked to meet in front of the new teachers.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll
Forever.
call you.
Yeah,
We'll do
so
our thing.
it's our job, I mean, we'll own the process, we want to make sure we onboard new teachers, so we just don't hire them in turnkey, but we have a time to take them out to understand pedagogy, understand the work, how to interact, who to go to, those kind of things, so that's why we're doing round 2, which makes sense.
And the round is 6 sessions, so each new teacher will attend all 6 sessions?
Oh, no, this is
No, this
for
is for the
TNTP, I was just
administration.
talking about the next round of new teacher orientation.
That's administration, right?
It's administration.
And that's teacher,
Yeah.
got it, okay.
All right, C24, University of North Florida, understanding this is our sprint. This is where we have articulation agreement where they provide sprint leads that support new teachers and interns within our school district.
Can I ask a question? And I'm so
Sure.
sorry, my brain didn't work as fast
It's
as.
okay.
So you said that that's principals and APs on that previous
The
training?
administration,
So,
yes.
how were the APs that get involved in that selected? I was asked that question, I didn't really know why I was being asked it,
So-
now I understand.
So this is so TNTP is for everyone. So what we'll do
Okay.
is we will provide professional development to principals, and then me and my staff will turnkey and take the same content and flip it and expose to every AP, VP in the
Okay,
district.
that's different
Yeah,
than
then we have a leadership pipeline we're about to launch. And
Okay.
that is for aspiring individuals who are aspiring leaders that want to become a leader. We'll have a program which is a level 1 certification program. Then we're working for a level 2 certification program that we currently already have that for individuals to get the level 2 to be a principal. And then we have a novice principal program where we work with every brand new principal in the school district, and we provide intense professional development on a monthly basis. And this is led by Mrs. Muller.
In that same vein, and you don't have to answer me,
That's right.
but the question keeps escaping my brain. I've been asked several times by a number of people who have the level 2
Gotcha.
AP certification from the state,
Okay.
but did not make it into your final pool for principal,
Like for selection being
Sure.
placed?
yes. So
Gotcha.
are they eliminated from ever being considered?
Yeah, never. So we actually encourage and need them. We want to continue to have a longer, stronger bench. What we did do, and what I thought was as fair as we could be, everyone that had a level 2 certification that was qualified to be a principal, we interviewed every one of them, and that was a committee between me, Mr. Brodsky, Ms. Paiva, Ms. Moeller, and some
Yes, and
staff.
that was complimented. I think the language, if they didn't, so there was some language about you failed to progress to the next round, which some of them interpreted to mean you're failed. And they said, and the statement by several to me, I don't know if they've said it to you, is if the state says I'm level 2, how can they say I'm not qualified?
Yeah,
It's an
I have an answer to that.
Yeah.
When anybody ever says that,
Uh-huh.
this is LD's answer. There's a big difference between being certified and being qualified.
Okay.
Anybody, we can all go get certified
That's right.
in anything, but that doesn't necessarily mean for that particular position in that environment, we're qualified for that. There's a difference. Just because
Okay.
you go get your certification doesn't guarantee the job.
So are we going to work toward helping our
Everybody.
current ones
Yeah.
that have that level 2 become qualified to sit in
Yeah,
that?
the answer to that is yes, and that's why I created the structures of principal supervisors such as Mr. Connor and Dr. Stallman to circulate and do instructional rounding with these individuals to help them walk through classrooms and provide them with greater supports. So just because they don't pass one round of interviewing processes doesn't mean that they are discounted from being a leader within this organization. Matter of fact, we've identified a number of those individuals and provided them explicit feedback of how they can get better and what we're going to do to help them turnkey to become the leader they aspire to become. So, you know, there's a number of them we wanted so badly to pass, and you know, through walking, instructional rounding, looking at their data, and doing the interview process, they just weren't ready. And it's not their fault, to be honest with you. There hasn't been a lot of focus on building capacity of leaders. Now there has been in depth, and this is what TNTP will help us. Yes, ma'am. All right, going to seat 25.
24.
We did.
I
did Sprint.
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
With that.
24. Anybody have any questions of Sprint? This is something we continued in the organization. Come on, she's looking for a coach. The next one is MOU with the Department of Health. This is just for them to provide technical assistance and professional development to our nurses. C26 is allocation changes for 17-18.
I have no issues with this, but I'm hoping that you're gonna add a whole lot more teachers.
Oh,
I'm getting phone calls and phone calls and phone calls about
good.
30 kids and math students.
We're all
and
getting
math.
them.
Yeah, so it's
Resources
and I would say you probably get them every school year unless they over budgeted and put them in the front side. You can't do anything to the 10-day count, so I didn't want to start giving teachers after day 5 or 6. We start meetings on Thursday with principals, and it'll go Thursday, Monday, and Tuesday, because Thursday, Friday, and Tuesday, where we have individual meetings with our principals. They'll bring their master schedules. They'll show us if they're in K3 compliance, 4-8 compliance, and 9-12 compliance, and then we'll award teachers where we need in order to make sure that we meet class size as outlined by the state. So we're in that process. We already know who's up, who's down, where we are, and we have a good idea of what we think we may need, whether we're moving a teacher from one school to another school in order to make sure that we're in compliance. We will take every measure that we can. We will, but us meeting with the principal would be me, myself, the principal supervisor, Mr. Brodsky, and Dr. Lagucco, to make certain that we're all at the same table, so we hear the same message, and we are intensely looking at every master schedule and say, yes, you need one here. You may be able to do this, looking at master schedule sections, so we protect the integrity of our class size.
You're also looking at resource numbers, is that correct?
Yeah, we will,
Resource
we will,
teachers.
but we're gonna.
Because that's,
We will, but
I've
right
been hearing
now,
from some of the
yeah,
resource teachers that when
it's-
you've got 30-some kids
Yeah,
in a music class, it's a little difficult to.
I'm more concerned about the
honestly,
31
openly,
kids
I'm not
in
afraid
math
of 30
classes.
kids in a resource class.
Yeah.
I'm not, ma'am.
I said I'm more concerned about 31 kids in math classes.
Oh, absolutely.
Elementary.
So,
Yeah,
so I'm
that-
curious, when you said that we're down we're down? Because every school I've been in, there's kids everywhere.
Oh yeah, there's some schools that are down. I can send you the updated numbers.
Really?
Yeah, there's some schools that are down.
No, I mean,
When I say down, it could be 20 kids, but 20 kids is a teacher. So I mean, if you look at it, well,
Sure.
it depends. It's a teacher, but then they're spread out through their grade level. May not be a teacher, if that makes sense. So.
So these meetings are this Thursday,
Yeah,
Friday?
so I'm trying to get it done so that I can put it on the board agenda 48 hours so we're ready to rock and roll.
Ms. Fiver, are you supposed to be collaborating with them on that?
No, actually, the contract that I have with you guys says that within 4 weeks of the beginning of the school, that you will present to me a plan to get us to class size amendment standards.
Well, hopefully we don't even need to get them.
That's what the contract says.
Yep.
Next 3 days.
I know.
I mean, we have
I'm in my time
kindergartners,
frame.
like 26 kids in a kindergarten class, it's ridiculous.
That's a
Yeah.
lot.
And this is, I'm concerned that this is the beginning, this sets the pace for the whole school year, and we have 26 kids sitting in a kindergarten class that a teacher's trying to set the pace
Yeah.
for the whole school
And
year.
I say
That's
this.
something
But we
worth
do
their
have
magic.
4 years, we do have
4
4
weeks, yeah. We're all over the 4 weeks. We'll beat it, and I tell you what, our teachers have been champions. We have kids. We have classes that are some are 19, some are 18, 22, 23, 25, and they're doing great work. So they know help's on its way, but we just got to do it in a calculated, consistent manner.
Yeah, my concerns are
It's hard.
parental concerns that call,
Yeah.
worrying about instruction, worrying about if then their child changes teachers,
Yeah.
have they lost instruction
Exactly.
time?
Yeah.
And frankly, safety. If you've walked in any of the classes when they have
Yeah.
30 desks in a room that's meant for 25,
Yeah,
you know.
we
And
don't
also
have,
they've attached to the teacher.
yeah.
Right.
So
And,
war will break out in
But-
4 weeks,
but-
and that's why we get overstaffed.
And I say this, and please don't think this is anything new, this happens across the country, everywhere. And some individuals do not change. In my prior life, we didn't change until maybe end of October, end of October. So we're well ahead of this work.
That's not good.
I know, I'm just telling you,
That's
it
really
it
bad.
happens.
Ms. Piva, how do we do it every year? It's usually done in the very beginning, within the first few weeks, right?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am,
Yeah.
and it's
So we're
usually,
right
I
on
mean,
schedule.
it says, I mean, I don't know who meets with me, but it used to be the deputy superintendent, and,
Yeah, it'd probably
you know,
be,
it's a huge concern with teachers right now, because we're just inundated,
Right.
with telephone calls about people's class size and.
And it's across the board, it's not isolate, you know, if you have one teacher.
But we've decreased our instructional staff greatly.
Right.
So we went from
though.
2742, and what the district gave to me last week was 2694.
Yeah.
So that's a huge difference, and I'm
We
thinking
should've-
it's new hires haven't been hired.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking that is. I'm
Well,
thinking
and
the
I
job board must be still packed with people, I don't
It's
know.
not, we have maybe 15, 18, 19.
But normally, the beginning of every school year, we do hire quite a bit, don't we? I mean,
Well,
Dave,
they have to.
yeah, so I'm confident you're gonna
Oh, yeah.
get
This
this
is,
back where our teachers are.
yeah, I don't see this
able
as
to
a,
teach
as a
without-
problem. And this actually is best practice. You don't wanna upload and hire all these individuals in the summer and not need them if the numbers don't come in. I forecast that Clay County will continue to have the staircase approach up in enrollment.
Mr. Davis, will you have, those numbers in time to put this on before Tuesday, so that we can?
Yes, ma'am, I have the Tuesday at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock.
48
Thursday.
hours.
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
we will,
Yeah.
I will have, so I'll meet on Thursday, I have those numbers done, so that'll be secondary numbers will be all done. Then I have first wave of elementary, that'll be done on Friday, and then I would have done some Saturday, Sunday stuff, but I can't. Yeah, that people have a life, and so Tuesday morning I'll be rocking and rolling, but my staff already haven't projected what they actually need, they're already working now.
I do like the new format, where you've broken it down by phones.
Yeah, I just couldn't see it the other way, it was
Yeah,
driving me nuts.
this is clear.
It led to too many questions for me and me staff.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Ms. Piva, it'll be me working with you once we identify class time.
I'm sorry.
It'll be me, once I get finalized, I'll be the one to lead there with you. That's okay.
If that's okay.
I know you said someone else, but in a way that other people can get after.
I'm just saying what our contract says.
Yeah.
These are things in our contract that's never been changed.
Yeah, I'll be
And we don't.
I'll beat your contract time on that way. All right, C-27 is warrants and vouchers. Is just every month. Next one is the budget amendment for the month of June. Superintendent's annual fiscal report for 2017. Monthly report for furniture and equipment. C-31 is AV materials. C-32 is software. C-33 is vehicle. C-34 is pre-qualifications of contractors. And why I'll say something. While we're talking about contract, we're in negotiations. There's a new individual in Keystone that is a new pastor at the church.
Oh, gosh.
So, so where they tried to lease us that property, where they tried to lease us that property, and so we have a new gentleman that's engaged, and we're, Dr. Kemp's going to work.
I get
We'll try-
phone
we'll try
call,
to buy.
I got texts from my dad at the gym. This person wants to know because of the safety concerns with kids walking everywhere and crossing streets. And the Catholic Church has been gracious enough to allow people to use their paved parking lot, but then they have to walk their child across streets with people driving and turning around and.
Yeah, we're gonna try to buy it.
We're reaching out to this diocese in St. Augustine. It's not the church's decision, it's St. Augustine's decision.
Okay.
So at one time, they were only interested in leasing it. We've gotten information that they might be interested in selling that piece of property, which would solve that problem. We could actually create a better logistical flow of traffic in that area. You know, we're just now finding this out. So
Okay.
with the change of leadership at the church, it's still going to be up to St. Augustine, but we're interested in speaking with them about that possibility.
Yeah, and my statements are purely from the things.
No, no, your
the
stuff we don't hear.
Rants on Keystone Word of Mouth and rants on,
That's true at any school.
No, listen, we appreciate it, we don't hear it, we appreciate
Here,
it.
here comes a hot button
So we-
issue at a lot of.
I brought that up because we're going back after that piece of property.
okay. Are we still gonna do the other drop-off loop up at the, other end of the property? Or that would be the, southwest corner?
It is in the project plan
Okay,
that's going to be finalized this board meeting, actually.
okay, thank you.
All right, C35 is just a substantial completion of Wilkerson Junior High's HVAC replacement.
Mm-hmm.
C36 is completion of Doctor's Inlet's fire alarm replacement. I'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, I
You wanna go
drove
ahead?
past that, I said, oh, something's going on there.
Okay, so we put this system in and it was fried within a week.
Yeah, brand new system, had
159 grand.
multiple lightning strikes, and it was fried, but we did get good news
Yeah,
today.
just like
The contractor's gonna cover it.
Contract.
Oh, you know what? I was thinking last night.
It was a really bad storm.
It's $159,000.
Last night I'm thinking, how am I going to talk to the board about $159,000
It's
bill?
security system or something.
And our deductible is $100,000, so I mean we were still going to have to be in money.
There are other systems that were hit there, intercom and phone.
Yeah,
that
we
were not covered by the contract. I don't know the cost on that. but
That's
we didn't
swim
look
and
at that.
pin
Wow.
and something else.
Yeah, we had multiple lightning strikes
Yeah,
that
in
day.
that area.
Asbury
It was a bad
So-
storm.
Well, we completed it and it got burned up in a week, so I just want to let y'all know.
That's,
that we're
so
completion.
the police cars at
It wasn't
Doctor's
That's
Inlet.
right.
I drove by there like, 4 or 5
And the
there
lightning
for a long
protection,
time.
the lightning protection does work because I saw a really cool picture from one of our security cameras Bruce Harvin showed me of that it recorded a lightning strike on one of our lightning protection
cool.
poles.
Ah, cool.
And it was really neat.
I believe it's Lake Asbury, Miss Condon, that we have some, that were the poles, and the lightning went right through the middle of them, so, you know,
Yeah.
so it doesn't work 100% of the time. It's not like, you know, I feel like,
Didn't photograph that.
I feel like I'm Lieutenant Dan in the movie, you know,
Yes,
holding up, you know,
yes.
come on.
Dr. Kemp, that's the good Lord telling us that he still saw
Yeah,
that.
That's right.
It's his choice.
So,
Is this all you got?
so right now at Doctor's Inlet, we have the principal and leadership going around doing, rounds, fire watches. He can go in the classroom, there any smoke, there anything. So that's taken out of his instructional day, but it's got to happen.
Oh my gosh.
So,
How long before it's repaired?
ooh.
They're getting the parts right now. They're optimistic that it'll be in this week. We'll follow up on that and let you
Thank
know.
you.
But
At
they are
least you didn't
actively
say
working
next
on
month.
it.
I know,
I
right?
know.
No, this week.
They're
I
gonna get
just
some
met with them
exercise
yesterday.
over there.
I know, right? C37 is just completion of Clay High School's culinary renovation of their culinary program. C38 is the completion of Orange Park Junior High parking lot lights. C39 is the change order for Doctor's Inlet's fire alarm replacement. As I said, it got fried, and then Lake Asbury and also Swim and Pin were impacted in the storm, but we're doing storm and fire watches as well in that school.
Ms. Piper, did you have a question?
I have a question about Orange Park Junior High's master board for its air conditioning. So it's air conditioning in Orange Park Junior High is, well, lots of the schools are. But theirs was fried master board. Does that come in here, or is that, supposedly it was ordered?
Yeah, I first saw her.
Does it not come into this, into board approval? I don't know what a master board to control all the AC costs, but it sounded like a lot to me.
That would fall into maintenance. Some of the bigger purchases, like the chiller at Orange Park High School that just died. It's an 80-ton chiller. It's going to be a major, trying to locate an 80-ton chiller to replace. It's a 2-chiller system at Orange Park High. I know we're talking about Orange Park Junior. We had teams at Orange Park Junior this morning. Our new director of maintenance, Phil Hands, is providing a daily report on where we are with these HVAC issues. And with every storm that rolls in, there's another one. And I just want everybody to understand, in triple-digit heat, it's just this constant fight. You know, we've got 982 portables, each has a barred unit, each is trying to run. Every time they open the door every 50 minutes or whatever, and they're holding the door open, the cool air goes out. So you know, we're working with all we can to try to combat those issues. But I assure you, it has been the #1 priority, and we're working, we have guys working all the time,
15 hours
weekends,
a day.
bringing generators in. We brought generators in when we had the lightning strike that took out the 8 classrooms. We've had to
At
bring
Ridgeview.
at Ridgeview, so we're working on, and where there's air conditioner problems, we're trying to bring in spot unit coolers
Yeah.
temporarily to get them fixed.
So we're thinking differently when it comes to AC. I've had multiple conversations
Yes.
with Dr. Kemp. If we had $45 million to $50 million, we couldn't replace everything. We had so many, the majority of these units are 20 plus, 30 plus years old, and we're just trying to put a Band-Aid on them. So we had Ridgeview last week, up, down, up, down, up, down, and then enough. Dr. Kemp, great problem solver, brought in a portable unit transformer to get it up and running, and then we've had Montclair up, down, and went up, down. $15,000 compressor blew up. We put another one in, and so now we've had a problem with a line with metal parts in it, so we call timeout. We put portable units in the classroom. So we're trying to problem solve as often as much as we can. We appreciate your patience with us, but I can tell you, my building was out for multiple days last week, and I think you came in. We weren't touching our building until we touched classrooms.
It was
And I didn't say a word. I didn't ask this man to fix our building. I didn't ask anything. And I'm sorry that you had to work in those conditions. Ms. Bush.
I promise you it wasn't.
But I didn't say
strategically
one
shut off
word
for you.
because if we kids are first, we work through it. So.
Well, I appreciate it.
But we're on Orange Park Junior High Road.
Yeah, Orange Park Junior High is really desperate, and I have numerous conversations, and Betsy has also, Mr. Griffiths, who has done a wonderful job in trying to, but I always have to think it cannot be healthy to shut computer systems down. Well, it isn't healthy because even Mr. Griffiths and I had this conversation, to shut them down every single day, especially if you get a lightning strike, because they actually keep running and pretend that they're healthy until they're shut down, and then they're asked to restart, and the chips are now bad, but we didn't know they were bad. That's what happened at Orange Park Junior.
So every storm, just so everyone, every afternoon we get those storms.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a glitch, a lightning, a flicker, or whether it's, the servers reset. And things have to be manually reset, and some of these old systems with the old controls, every time that happens, a chip blows. So we've been talking about, how can we're always about scrimmaging. How do we get better? How do we get better? So we've been talking about what can we have on hand, ready to go, knowing that we're anticipating these problems. I've been told that it's much better this year than years in the past, but I'm going to tell you, we're failing to meet the standard that I expect, just because of the age of the systems. It is a byproduct of Band-Aid on Band-Aid and never replacing the system. Think about it. Our newest schools are now 12, 13 years old in systems. They recommend replacement of most of these big general systems, at 15 to 20 years. So if our newest schools are at replacement and we've never replaced any of the other 30, 38, 39, we're in a situation where we have got to create a new revenue stream to take care of these issues, or this is just going to compound. And authority without capacity.
No air conditioning and grumpy teachers who's losing their evaluation.
Authority without capacity.
It's a perfect storm. It's a perfect storm.
Well, I understand but authority without capacity is futility sometimes. So we have to be able to have the capacity we need to make the corrections. So I can think of Mike Kemp went to Duval County Public Schools from kindergarten to for 13 years, kindergarten through the 12th grade, never had air conditioner, and I hear when our chillers go down for 2 hours and we've got parents checking kids out for hard conditions, and the media shows up, so I'm thinking, where were you the whole 13 years? Same situation, same
heat. It wasn't that hot then.
Right. But I do understand. I think we all kind of turned out okay, but we'll work that.
One thing we are doing is making certain that we flip the switches on the AC around 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, we did. We did do that. We are adjusting that. It used to be 6 a.m. Like for our high schools, we bumped it back to where they come full like 4 a.m. You know, when the kids open up in the beginning, all that cool air that cools down was not enough to keep it cool, especially multi-floored buildings. You know, there's an issue. Heat rises, right? So when all the heat comes in from the beginning, they never catch up during the day. It is triple-digit humidity. So we're working on it best I can. An opportunity to serve
How much
every
do we
day.
give for those cost energy savings? We need to take that and use it for AC repair. Just saying, I'm not seeing any savings.
C40 is change order to school-wide entrance security.
I know.
No, I'm listening, I'm in a contract.
Actually, we were on parking lot lights.
One of your workers was there putting in the security enhancements, the front entrance at Keystone Elementary, and I wouldn't let him in the door. I couldn't see his badge, and so I was holding the door. He's like, open it. I said, no.
Well, it works, so it's working.
Then I found out security.
The principal told me, no, that's the worker. And I was like, oh, sorry.
That power you have.
Making sure their IDs, that's right.
Show me your ID.
So,
I think one thing I do want to compliment you on is we all got several emails about Montclair yesterday.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we all just
We're all
forwarded.
forward them.
we all
appreciate
forwarded.
Yeah.
So I don't bother.
But I'm gonna tell you something, these parents who wrote, that took the time, they are concerned about their little ones.
Yep.
And the
84
teachers
degrees.
are trying to teach in this, and we can't maybe fix it today, but I know as soon as we can get it fixed, it's gonna get fixed. But just like when we were doing the walkthrough that day at Ridgeview.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, it was hot. I mean, it was hot in your office too, I
Yes,
have
ma'am.
to say that. But I think one thing we are doing,
That's right.
one thing that you are doing right is when you get all of this from Montclair or wherever, you immediately, I can count on it, before I read my emails the next morning, you will have responded to them. And that's good.
I see
At
an
least they know
opportunity
they
here
hear you. You
For
know.
a capital campaign with parents.
I'm ready.
Let them
So
be
we
your
need to have all new air conditioners. I mean, the few years I've been around on the board, I do not ever remember this many schools having air conditioning problems. And I realize they're old and things break down and so forth, but we must do something. This is ridiculous.
I'm convinced it's that company.
Huh?
I'm convinced it's that company, our efficiency, Synergistics,
So if they brought
shutting it down or
I
whatever.
don't know.
Actually, Dr. Kim said he's told it's better than it has been.
I'd be surprised if Synergistics could cause lightning strikes.
I can only go by, getting emails this year, because we have had several this time.
It has been, yeah.
It's been.
Well, we're gonna, if we end up having to go for an additional revenue source to do something like replace those, Stillhausen has a great idea to engage those parents. I mean, we would
Say,
need
you want
community
air?
support.
Help us.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
We're ready.
I think some
I'll
town
bring
hall
something to you.
meetings.
All right, C39.
Who wants to lead a town hall meeting?
C39 was, I believe, the parking lot.
Dr.
And
Zillin Elementary.
Dr. Inland's elementary fire alarm, we said it's fried, we're just updating it.
Added a change.
Yes, ma'am. C40 is the county-wide front entrance security enhancements. This is Ridgeview High School. We had some issues with the walls not meeting code, so we've got to go in there and restructure it a little bit. And then we're going to add a fence as well. For security. C41 is change order to the Wilkerson Junior High School HVAC replacement. We've had to move all the ACs, most of the ACs from the attic all the way down to the floor so we can actually work on them, because it's an additional cost and very difficult to get to those units in the attic. So we're moving them down so we can relocate them for better maintenance in the long run.
So are they getting new units to replace the ones that are in the attic now?
Listen, yes, ma'am.
They're getting new units, so they'll be a cool place.
Cool.
It'll be
Cool.
good night.
And I will say that Dr. Kemp and his team are working hard. We have 6 guys internally that work on ACs, but we've contracted out to make sure we have WWGA and then train accessible to be at every one of our sites where in potentially Synergistics.
Yes, on the
Because we have an engineer suite as well.
just to give you an idea, Ms. Stoddard, the original replacement of the Wilkinson air conditioners, when it came before you, was about $467,000. I just want everybody to know, you're going to learn this. You're going to learn Thursday that the state cut the PICO funding from what we were projecting 1.29 million to like 868,000. So if you take 868,000 for PICO maintenance and you try to divide that by the 50 sites that we have to monitor, one major problem like this just took half of what we needed to maintain the schools. So that's the dire straits that we're in from a funding perspective. So. But we attack them you'll see in the EFP, it's HVAC replacement, chiller replacement, controls replacement. Some of our control systems are so old, and we have multiple control systems. I will be asking the superintendent to ask this board to standardize on controls, so we can train our team on the same ones instead of being victim to the low bid every time. And we have 6 different sets of controls and they all upgrade quarterly and they're old and they're out of date. We have to become relevant.
If we don't do something, our choice schools are gonna be based on who has AC instead of.
Oh no, don't put that on me. Don't put that on me. But anyway, I just want to let you know the cost, that just one repair is half the maintenance.
How cool do you keep it?
All right, D1. D1 is just a proclamation for declaring September as Attendance Awareness Month, where we seek to reduce and eliminate students missing school, so we know that we can continue to help them, expose them to high quality enrichment academically and non-academically. D2 is House Bill 7069. This is a return from last month. D3 is Special Action A. See me and Mr. Brodsky. D4, Special Action B.
I had a question on A, and I think Ms. Gill has, I think it was A, hold on, I'm opening it up. I think Ms. Gill hasn't asked it last month, but I just wanted clarification for, if I remember what you said correctly, that contractually we have to,
Termination.
suspend with pay.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, we don't have a choice in that.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Until after findings.
Until after findings,
and you can take action for it without pay.
And so now, Special Action A, you can see the result there. Special Action B will be withdrawn, and you can see why on the documents.
Right, I saw that.
Okay.
It was just the, basically 4 weeks of pay that I was curious about.
Yes, ma'am. D5, just our public hearing for the instructional resources manual.
So that covers everything on our agenda. Were there any questions, Ms. Piper?
Yeah, sorry, but I couldn't get your attention before when Mr. Davis was doing this. C11, transition coach contract. Coaches are instructional and fall under our unit. Why are we hiring somebody that's a coach on a different contract?
This is a transition coach for a part-time with ESE, students with disabilities.
Yeah, we have all coaches in our unit.
This is for, yeah, I don't know if this is part of someone that falls under the umbrella or not. I'll have to look at it.
Patricia Beckton.
We can work, I can have Chair Rolfe reach out to you.
Because we have all coaches in our PERC agreement that was done just 2 years ago, all coaches, instructional coaches, ESE coaches,
I
whatever.
mean, you've had
coaches.
this individuals, they've been here since 2014, so either you've had them or you have not had them under your umbrella.
We've always had coaches under our umbrella, we own all the coaches.
And so I don't know how that plays into this item right now.
We'll have to check with
Yeah.
Ms. Roth. as to
Okay,
who the
yeah.
individual is.
I mean, she can fall under or not be.
Yeah, I've never seen this before, it's another one of those that I've just never seen that, because,
$16,000.
I mean, we have part-time coaches, it's not like it's a part-time position, we already have in our instructional unit, in our contract with you, part-time
Yeah,
provisions.
I have no problems if that individual seeks, if they wanna
This is a
have that
repeat
right.
since 2014, I wonder.
And if they've done it or not, that's up to them.
Would show up in your stuff.
Coaches are instructional.
Will you look into
If
that?
they're instructional, they belong in our unit.
Right.
This is not an instructional coach, but we can solve it.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding this coach does. then.
Yeah, I'll talk when this is finished about this individual.
Were there any other questions from anybody?
I do have one other question that I had forgotten to ask back on the personnel consent agenda. And I know every year we talk about the supplements and how much they are, and I'm gonna.
Why are you looking at me?
Because you always bring it up.
This is a runaway train.
And I guess I don't understand why we have, so I'm looking at the people who are titled specialist, and they get their compensation, and then they get a supplement on top of it. I guess I wanted to understand more about that.
Typically a specialist would be the leader of that, so they take on additional responsibilities. So for example, if you're the EBD specialist, you're in charge of all EBD programs throughout the district. So you're a specialist, you're on teacher contract, getting paid the same teacher salary, but then you get this supplement for being a specialist, being a leader and assuming those roles.
Okay.
And also all your curriculum specialists are all curriculum specialists. They all do get a supplement, yeah. And, yeah. If they have the word specialist attached to their job description, they get that supplement.
And
And it's been
why is it just not part of their compensation?
I don't know.
You're
We actually asked that conversation
part of
about
the
a year ago,
conversation.
Mr. Davis and I had that conversation.
I mean, it's no, this is what I brought, I mean, we want to do some real, strikes and balances. I think a department head should be part of their compensation as well, we pay them, I mean.
Well, I could understand a department head, it probably is difficult to get somebody to volunteer to do that if it's additional work. I understand that one, but some of these, I don't know if I guess my question is to really understand, and I know you had talked about this next year, supplements you're going through in detail, but it just struck me that there's some of these people that it looks like it's part of their regular job.
Right.
Right.
And that's where my question comes up.
And some of this, like this year, we moved away from certain supplements and we gave district specialists like potentially like a spelling bee or help assist the math day, or I'm just giving examples.
Those I understand, because that's additional work outside of their regular job.
I don't disagree with you on that.
I just didn't understand if it's part of their regular job, it seems it would be.
Why would they get an additional?
Yeah.
No, they were
Ms.
put
Fuller,
it
did you
across.
have a
I have
question?
two questions, one regarding curriculum in junior high and one regarding principals. The curriculum in the junior high, we adopted a new social studies curriculum this year. And in our technology rollouts with all of the computers, did we support the junior high in some of those computers as well to supplement or to help the junior high?
We have
Because I'm hearing that some of the teachers don't have the technology in their classrooms to be able to appropriately use the new curriculum in the social studies.
So the biggest push was to make certain that every core teacher has a core English, math, science, social studies had a minimum of 6 computers in their class. So that was rebalancing, moving units within the infrastructure within their building. But now, since you approved the Dell, we just ordered 6,200 units.
Right.
And so now we're pushing them,
So
as soon
they're
as they
still being
arrive.
pushed
Yeah,
out.
we're not over.
Because I
Same
know
with
that
hotspots.
with the baseline testing,
Yeah.
all of the computers in the schools are being used for the baseline testing.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to actually engage in the social studies curriculum that is built to use computers as well. So basically, right now, we're dealing with the time element. That
Yeah,
once the
we're about to
testing is
finish
done,
baseline.
you're gonna have to sort of wait to really delve into that curriculum until, secondly, this came up a couple of years ago, and I remember, and I don't know in what context it came up, but it's a fundraising question. And I remember this came up before I was on the board, because I went to my principal as a teacher who was in fundraising for programs. You guys came for the snow cone sales after our fall festival or whatever our play. And I went to my principal and I said, do you take 10% off the top of what I make for my program for your service, and she said, absolutely not. And I thought, oh, well, I don't know. And I'm hearing that that's
Yeah, so-
becoming the norm, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking,
We
whoa,
addressed this back
wait
in
a
the
minute.
spring, right
Yeah.
after you came, probably March
Came
or
on, I
so.
addressed this, and then I put it, it's planned to go back in the weekly briefing. I do a principal's weekly briefing every Friday.
So what are we planning on saying?
Zero. We're saying zero. They
That's
are
what
not
I would
allowed to
like
take
to see.
anything.
Well, they all have, they've all made the
We-
teachers
No.
sign off on
Well,
it,
they're
that
all
they are
gonna
taking
have to go back
10%.
And we'll
change
coach
it.
them on the 12th
Absolutely
as
not.
well.
They cannot take that.
No, they can't.
I can't, I was flabbergasted when I heard that that was even being
Yes, it
considered
is.
You
so.
need to
And it was
let
some of
every,
the newer principals, I think.
Yeah.
And I
We'll
thought,
coach them.
oh, that's.
Actually, what we were gonna talk about, I know we have people coming to talk about that at the school board meeting.
That's
Because
just-
we had already decided we
We
weren't
had-
going to do that, and every
No,
teacher.
that's-
superintendent
Well,
said
and-
that is
and
not
it-
acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, and then, I mean, so you can tell them they don't have to come to me, they get all their money. But we'll send that, again, a reminder in the weekly briefing.
They've
I
all
was
signed
appalled.
the applications to Mrs. Legecko with the 10%.
That's part of the internal accounts manual, that's part of the process. That was decided
Well, then let's
last
change
year,
the
I
manual.
remember. We'll need to
Bring
bring
it to
something
us,
back to the
we'll
board
change
to
it.
change
And
it
you
to
can put those in
allow
the
for
shredder.
us to collect
That's
the,
fine, please,
Mhm.
because that, I mean, for
because it's in the manual.
That's wrong.
having put together a
Can you-
number of
can you
programs.
put
So
that on
that's-
the agenda?
You can't afford to
But the
lose
only
it.
reason it went in the manual for 10% was we had principals charging 20%.
Well, it should
Yeah.
be zero.
So,
I know.
So.
and that's how it got to in the
Oh,
manual
yeah,
to begin with.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that was
Well,
a
whatever it
discussion.
takes. I really
Show
appreciate
change
it.
the
But I
change
can't
the
imagine
manual.
this
We're gonna
thing.
change the manual for the fundraising. Either
Let's
just
get it on the
eliminate
agenda for
it
this
or
time.
show that
She
it's
had it.
zero.
And you need to send that out because all the teachers are,
And actually,
All
would
schools do
you
it.
send it out to all instruction, not
Yeah,
just the
I'll
principals,
send it
but
out
so that our
to,
teachers realize that this is the way it will be.
I'll do this, I'll send it out
Yes.
to, I'll send
Yes, on
it
this
to weekly
agenda.
briefing.
Absolutely.
Once the board approves it, then I'll send it out in scale.
I would
Because
go.
nothing is
There's no
gonna
sense dragging
be,
out.
nobody's gonna be calculated
Yeah,
now.
I'm doing
I mean, this is one more thing that they don't need to worry about.
See,
People are, I mean, it's the beginning of the year, teachers are jumping into the programs that they, and not all
They're hot.
teachers,
They got too many kids.
and they
They're
still
hot.
work after school to get
They're
those
effective.
extracurricular programs for their children.
some principals are charging 10%
we only have a
of
really
gross.
handful of classes.
And not
Oh,
for-
God,
before
I
they
don't have
made-
two
made
schools
their
with AC
payments.
problems.
That's your area.
Having had AC problems so fast, I can really.
Oh, yeah.
Want me to do I'm trying to behave over here, Brinley. You want me to do my oh gosh again?
Don't Betsy, we're being videotaped.
No, I think we ought to be proud of Miss
Okay.
Betsy. She is just, we don't even need law enforcement.
That's right.
The south end of the county is covered.
Covered.
Ms. Fuller, did you have any more
Sheriff
questions?
Daniels will give me a badge.
Ms. Gilhouse, did
Just
you have
don't
any
go
questions?
tote.
Ms. Studdard, any questions?
No.
All right.
I do want to remind you that there is a ball game Saturday night in case anybody's not busy.
Oh,
James in
really?
Florida?
Starts at 8
I'll
o'clock.
say that at the
Florida
board.
State.
We have,
Florida
Florida
State. Florida State.
Miss Kerrigan, did you know that your school board meeting
You gonna
is
talk
the
to
same
me
time
next
as
week if
open
we get
houses?
lucky?
I know.
Throughout
I
the
found that
district?
out last
You can
night,
say it.
that
You
there's an
say it.
open house the same night as our school.
No.
Many.
Many,
My kid
many.
is one of them. I'm missing
We
my
can't
kids' open
attend
house.
our open
Yeah.
houses
Um,
because it's the same night as the school board meeting.
when is the
And
seventh?
it's an important vote
We
of
should look
60,
at- can we just look?
70-69.
And also the college
We'll look
and
at it.
career.
At the school.
That's also the night of the college and career, which I understand that can't be
Just-
moved easily.
Yeah, we'll change it, no big deal. You
Well,
Not,
Can we
not
make
the college
sure
career.
for
No, our meeting,
Not the
we'll change the
college.
open house.
Not the college and career though, that's planned.
No,
We
I'm
have
not
notes is
changing
already
that.
gone home to parents, right?
Yeah, we can do a parent link though.
Can we plan
Yeah, well,
for next
I,
year?
I don't know that that's such a good idea.
I don't know that I.
Well, our
Publicize,
teachers
we
are
can't-
very upset that they can't come to the school board meeting. Extremely upset.
I'm
because
sure
we
we're
have
gonna get many emails.
numerous schools holding their open house on that date.
Why
Would
would
you
they?
make sure this?
So
is-
why would they do
Yeah,
that?
Alright, so we'll carry,
We'd really like to go to the career.
we'll
programs, but-
we'll keep it the same and then for 18, 19, we'll make sure it's not on school board meeting day.
That's when in October, or September? The
Is it
college
October
night
the
is
The
college
college
coming
and
up.
career night,
Yes.
it's September 7th.
Yes.
I play high, and it moves around, and I understand y'all have colleges that have planned to come
Oh, no,
from all
that's,
over.
you can't change that, because
So
that's.
for
not-
next year, let's make sure it's not
But
the
the
same
open
night as
house-
the board meeting.
Can I go through
Well-
my to-do list to make sure it's accurate before we
Yes.
adjourn? First one, I'll get, we'll look at AMI pace to make sure that whether or not we're obligated to provide some materials or not. We'll have that done in the next 24 hours with Mr. Dagada. We've already we'll continue to review the partnership with Keystone Behavior Pediatrics located in Jacksonville. We've already addressed the rides. We're good on that one, or you want additional information?
I think we're fine. Everybody's okay with that, right?
All right, we'll have upload a agenda item for testing calendar so you can see it. And for this agenda item, we'll have weekly briefing. I will announce, continue to be announced again about the 0% for fundraising. We will have an agenda item for fundraising. Look at the manual through Dr. Legucco's office for fundraising. This says 0% for school-based leaders.
That's K through 12, not
And that'll
just
be added to
secondary.
our agenda for
That's correct.
September 7th.
Yep,
Very
it'll be
good.
added.
Great.
All right.
All right, so we actually, Mr. Daggett needs to have it at the attorney-client session. Well, an attorney-client session, and he'd like to have it before the school year. We now have one discipline that is set for 3:30. Do we want to move the discipline to 4:30? Should take a half an hour, and then meet with Mr. Daggett from 5 o'clock to 5:30? Or do we want to schedule it for after, or, I mean, it's whatever you guys want. You want to wait till the end of the meeting to have?
How long does
He's
Mr.
got about
Daggett-
30 minutes, correct?
Yes.
You told us that last time, we were an hour and a half.
Well, that was the first joint meeting we had.
We're gonna be 30 minutes.
So, yeah, and I actually have to officially make the request on the record right now, so I am requesting a litigation shade meeting to discuss, of course, the Dries lawsuit, which is 4th Judicial Circuit, case number 10-2015 CA 1154, and the request is made under 286-11 subsection 8, which allows us to discuss litigation and settlement discussions and strategy. And this piggybacks on the last one. I can't imagine that it's going to go beyond 20 minutes. If the board wants to set it for 30 minutes, it's fine with me. It should be quicker than last time.
So-
What time is our disciplinary?
We're scheduled for disciplinaries at 3:30 and we just have one. Which means if we met at 3:30 and then with Mr. Daggett at 4, it takes us to 4:30, it's time to go get dinner or something, but it's whatever.
I would suggest we stick with the
I would
3:30
agree, yeah.
and go to,
Rather
and
be
just meet
rushed.
immediately after
Okay.
that.
Right.
And if it's at 4, that works, and then
Ms. Kirkus, if we also could have an executive session at some point before September 13th.
what do we need? What?
An executive session, I'm asking everybody to take a look at their calendars before the 13th.
Why don't we just do it after the board meeting?
We could do it after the board meeting, it's totally up to you, you just need a time frame.
That would make sense.
If we don't have the data, there's no reason for.
So I just need confirmation, or we're gonna have the data recently requested available, because if we don't have that data, we need to push for the request of Ms. Paiva.
I'm working on it.
Okay, I just,
I'll give you an
I don't know
answer
your
after
world,
lunch.
okay, I don't know what your world is,
On the
but
7th,
I
we're
wanna
gonna do
respect the fact that
disciplines
I
at
don't want you
3:30.
to have
Mr.
that
Daggett
information,
and
right?
following, so it's not 4 o'clock. I'm sorry, I was looking at the calendar and answering Mrs. Studrick. What did we just decide about?
Could we do executive session after the regular board meeting?
And would we have, you're saying would we have the data we need?
We're just trying, there was some data information requests,
That we're still waiting
and
on.
they're waiting on getting the
One
data,
in
but we'll
June.
know after
One
lunch
in
today whether or not we'll be able to do it.
So if you have what you need, why don't you email all of us and just let us know that at the end of the meeting, we'll have an executive session. And that works for,
So the preference is to do it after the school board meeting?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mr. Rossi, I know that there was bring everything.
Yep.
Everything.
Yep.
So that the board can be apprised to every information that.
I'd like to see that handout you gave us last time also, so would you bring that back for us?
Sure, I'll bring
too?
all of them from last time.
Thank
And
you.
with respect to the shade meeting, we do, for purposes of a notice, I will have to identify a time. If we start afterwards, that's fine. Do we want to do it for 4?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
that's what we'll do.
And we should be no more than 30 minutes.
I
Probably-
very highly
I mean,
doubt
our
it's gonna go
discipline
beyond.
should be-
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we should be.
Right.
All right. One other thing, Ms. Condon is our new representative for the Value Adjustment Board, and I'm gonna sit in for her, but as I was sitting here, I'm thinking, I'm not sure who the alternate is. So it would Probably been either Mrs.
Not
Stoddard or
me.
me.
Not
So,
me.
okay, if everybody's okay, I'm gonna fill in for
I've
it.
done it
Okay,
100 times.
then I'm on. I just wanted to make sure nobody else wanted
Am I
to
the
do
alternate?
it.
You-
No,
were you-
Ms.
Oh,
Bowen,
okay.
I don't think either you or Ms. Gilhousen were
I don't
because
think-
of the conflict of possibly
No,
your mother and
because
your
Ms.
husband.
Bowen, I think it
So,
was-
is it me? Perfect then,
It could have
okay.
been me, but if you insist.
I would gladly do it.
Ms. Fuller, are going to be attending training.
Did you have anything?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Alright.
Start getting anything?
It's on boardsmanship and, boardsmanship and policy.
All right, we do have one more question from Ms. Betts.
Sometimes I'm going to talk to you as your local union advocate, and sometimes I'm going to talk to you as a mom. And today I just wanted to raise something as a mom. I do have 2 children here in this system and 2 that have graduated from this system. Last night at open house, my kids' open house, I have a kindergartner at Patterson. I learned that my teacher, my child's teacher, cannot secure her door from the inside in the case of an active shooter. There's no way for her to do it without going in the hall, using her key, turning the key. There are lots and lots of very inexpensive solutions to that problem. And I believe that every teacher in this district ought to be able to secure his or her classroom door without going outside to keep those kiddos safe. So I would really appreciate it if you would do that.
And I appreciate it. And at the end of the day, every teacher's door should always remain locked on the outside. Always remain locked, regardless. When you walk into a school, they should never be unlocking their door on the outside. So if they do their due diligence and keep it locked at all times on the outside, then there's not. There's not an issue because you can always open it to get out internally, and when you close it, it's always truly secure from anyone ever getting in.
Superintendent, that's not a common practice in our county right now.
No, it's
At
not.
all.
No, it's not.
Even front doors
But
are
we
unsecured.
will work on that.
We'll work on that.
We have many that, I thought we fixed them a few years ago, that were brought up that you can only lock from the outside.
Yeah, they should leave them locked.
Don't worry, Dr. Stallman, I'll just go do walk around.
Wear your school board badge.
But I will say,
Give her an orange badge.
to Ms. Bessie's point,
It's fine.
I'm
It's
sorry.
Rager, but it's
Ms.
fine.
Rager, to Ms. Rager's point, we will be doing some, I call them kind of code red drills, in the sense that we will be going around and making certain that we have, some are going to be unannounced, most will be unannounced, so we have secure campuses in lieu of something that will take place such as that.
Now, there's, well, when you start talking
Clay, yeah,
about
you're
the,
talking 2 different things, the
Yeah,
red
you're
or code
talking-
blue.
if you're talking a code red drill for an active shooter or something like that, generally they're in a portable situation, I'll just use myself as an example. When we had a drill, or when we had somebody on campus who didn't belong there, we've had both. We can then cover the windows and the doors. Up to that point, though, they encourage us not to cover the windows into the doors. So it is frustrating because, and I've had a father come to me and say, we've got, do your doors open out or do they open in? Because if they open in, you should be able to, all of our doors open out.
That's right.
So that the kids can get out.
That's correct.
And
It's actually code.
he was, but it's also very not real secure.
Sure.
Well, one of the easiest things to do is a super heavy-duty zip tie that goes around that hydraulic arm, and it just hangs there, and you pull it when you need it, and then you're secure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right.
I wasn't aware of that.
We have one more thing, so don't leave yet. 2 more things. How many people are getting phone calls about the book? Have you gotten any calls?
About the book?
The phone book. Okay, I had 4 secretaries call me asking were they going to be issued a phone book this year. So we are going to issue phone books.
We need a
We need a phone book. I know
Yes,
you
we
guys
do.
who are on computers are all using your computer all day.
But
But
that's
those of us that
inaccurate
aren't,
info, some of it's inaccurate information.
it's all old. And we have all whole new exchange now, so we need to expedite this with correct names and numbers, and every record secretary out there uses it, highlights it, sticky
So
tabs.
we haven't got a clue who we're calling.
Everybody wants it and needs it.
We just take
And
that
if
little
I've got
book and go,
4
hope
phone
for the
calls,
best.
I can imagine how many others, you must be hearing it too.
All the time.
So
Well,
we need to
don't.
stop playing games and get this done.
Okay.
Um,
At the end of the day, I can tell this more openly. What we're not going to do is print 2 of those. So
No, you need to print them for everybody.
I'm saying we're not going to print 2 in the sense that we said it last time openly that we're trying to get all the information information that we can to have accurate numbers and people identified. And we have some, we're changing phone numbers, so if I print that and give it to you, then I have to turn around and print one. But I'll tell you what, we'll give you what we have.
How many more
and
numbers do we need?
I have to find out from Jeremy.
Well,
I know he's in the process.
let him know that we're getting many phone calls about it.
And please, I wish, if the, and I
Maybe we should
know,
let them call Jeremy.
yeah, I want, yeah.
I'm serious.
No, I don't
You know?
disagree.
Email Jeremy, call
I don't
Jeremy.
I was just about to say that.
Okay, I'm encouraging everybody to call Jeremy.
Jeremy.
The other
We-
thing.
What's his phone number?
I don't know his phone number. Got a new number. Got a new number.
That's all I know.
No,
It's not in the phone
the
book, so
last
we can't
thing
call.
was, we are a month overdue with the evaluations for our new school board attorney, and Mr. Davis put together a very, very detailed thing. I was like, wow, because I had seen what some other districts had, and you guys don't know, but prior to Mr. Sykes, when we had our previous attorney, every year the superintendent and the board evaluates the attorney and then has a debrief on it. And it was kind of brief. It was, maybe 4 questions. And this was very good, so you did a great job. I know some of this doesn't apply to what we would answer, it's what you would answer as far as the interaction with district staff and things of that nature, but I don't know if you're prepared to make suggestions or if you want to just email them to the superintendent. Whatever is fine.
Please know, this is my first attempt at school attorney, so you can throw away, push back, or change it. I just have
Well, I
to.
hope you're kind,
Anything we
Mr.
should add or
Superintendent.
No, I'm going to transition this template to my admin, so I just kind of, and I don't even know if you want to do the second part. That's up to you guys. So, I was asked to put something together. It's my best
What do you
effort to
mean the
strike out.
second part?
Targets.
So in a past life, I actually have lots of experience doing evaluations of employees, and I think I've done quarterly and annual, and I think this is great comprehensive information for an annual. I'm not sure that we want to go into this much detail for a mid,
Right,
you
and
know,
we should do it, it's supposed to be 90 days and then 6 months, and then after that is once a year.
the annual, yeah, so I
Right.
don't know if we want to
So-
do a
Yeah,
short
And
version.
we could just
Yeah.
take, that the back part of it really just pertained to the attorney questions and not the district stuff. We can just do that part, and just go with that. So, I don't know if everybody's had a chance to go through it, it was only sent to you
I read
yesterday.
through it, there's way,
So, there's a
way
lot of
too much
information
in
here.
there.
But
You
keep
know,
in
I'm a
mind,
firm believer in the KISS method.
keep in
You
mind
know,
though,
the back part pertained to the
Right.
attorney,
Mhm.
the other was, I thought, this really
yeah.
is just too much.
But some of that is how
Yours
the
to develop.
superintendent interacts with our attorney also, and how our attorney is interacting with district staff, and that would be part of how the superintendent evaluates them too, so just email your recommendations to the superintendent, and maybe if by next Thursday, if we can get all our stuff into him, give ourselves a week to evaluate it, and give ourselves a deadline of, September 15th or something. So then we're 2.5 months late, a month and a half late. Anything else?
Is that something we need to vote on?
I don't believe we do. We never have in the past approved it or not.
Do we
It's
have
just
a copy of the one that we used with?
Mr. Brodsky could probably send the one that we used from years
So
ago.
why don't we just use that one for his 90-day evaluation?
I don't think it really applies for a new school board attorney. I remember when we used it in the past, and it's very vague. And I think because, Mr. Daggett is brand new, and also brand new as a school board attorney, I think that we really do need to be a little more specific in our evaluation, so.
Why don't you send it to
But
us
send
so
it so you give
we can
ideas.
see, because
Yeah.
I honestly
Yeah.
don't remember.
I know you've not
that
seen it, and
I'm just
you've never
thinking
seen
if he
it
needs a
either.
90-day evaluation, and that's already one that's been board approved, we could use
It's
that
not
one.
been board approved, I don't believe. It never
It's
came
just
to
been
us, it's
used.
just been used, it's just past practice.
It's just, we've always done it
That's
that
the
way,
way,
so
we've always done it this way.
It just seems to me that would be something we would do.
I'm telling you.
Maybe less than that.
If we come together on Thursday, we have a shade meeting and we have an executive
And I
session.
know I sound like a broken record.
And I don't know if it just has to be does it have to be an official board decision in the public
Mr. Daggett?
as to what we're using?
I would suggest, yes, so it's not part of either one of those meetings.
Correct. That's-
I would suggest that it does need to be discussed publicly You know, you're acting.
Right.
You don't necessarily need to
That's fine. I
adopt
worry
a
about
form,
us
but you're
emailing each
acting
other.
as a group.
Well, we're not
So-
going to, we're gonna email the superintendent. We're not having an email conversation, just email all your recommendations to the superintendent, and we'll let him put together, him and Mr. Brodsky together to
But
do it.
your question was, does the form need approval by the entire board?
He does not.
I don't believe that there needs to be specific public action on that. What I'm just saying is, public discussion, of course, needs to remain that way. So
Yes,
it is appropriate and necessary, really, to discuss it in the context of a public meeting. It can be a workshop, it can be a regular meeting, so long as it's agenda. So, you know, might be that workshops are the best way
Are you
of
wanting
going
to
about
have
it.
a workshop for your evaluation? Is that what you're saying?
No. For purposes of discussing, what I'm hearing is, you know, which form or forms
Right.
we ought to use or whatever. That is something that I think would be appropriate for a workshop.
Does
or-
anybody have a problem with emailing their suggestions to the superintendent and letting him just come up with a condensed version of this?
That's
I don't think we need to have
I
a
just
workshop
wasn't
to
sure.
go
Well,
through
this is
this.
a
I think
workshop.
we're
That's why we-
creating,
Well, that.
this is
That's why I
a,
wanna see
this
what
is a,
we used to do, because we might wanna steal
Yeah.
some
well,
of the
this
questions.
is a workshop for the agenda review. This item that we're discussing is not part of the workshop here. Correct? It's not agenda.
It's not agenda, but what you just suggested, I think that is workable, useful, compliant with 286, that, you know, I think what you were just suggesting is everyone kind of submits something to the superintendent. The superintendent maybe works with HR to finalize a form, perhaps.
Everybody okay
so
with
that's-
that?
Okay, so
Yeah.
just so I get it in my head, we're getting something from Brodsky as to what we used to use. We're going to have what you suggested,
You can strike it out.
and we can combine whatever we want, and we send it to you, and you come up with the final source, and we get it next Thursday, and we have approximately a week to fill it out. Does that make sense?
It can, yes
That
ma'am.
works for me.
Can I ask a question? It can.
Whatever you say.
Can I ask a question? When we send it back out to fill it out, who's gonna tabulate and put everything together?
We'll send it to Mrs.
thank
Bush.
Oh, I was like,
And-
that's right,
and-
because Ms. Bush is connected to
Because
the
you
board.
also
not me.
have to, you also have to evaluate,
Yes,
and then, you send out,
You can't evaluate and then add it up yourself.
no,
That's
we just
great.
send it
I
to
love
Mrs.
it.
Bush.
Yeah.
Or
Ms.
if you
Bush,
want
thank
to
you.
go,
I thought they were looking at
we
Brodsky.
can send it to your chief of staff if you'd rather that.
Miss Bush looks
call
like
it.
she's excited.
We'll call it.
Well, we'll call it, we
You've
can't.
always
You got too much.
Yeah,
You're
there you
gonna
go.
ignore his,
He's
he's in bad trouble today because this is all his stuff.
Where is he?
All right, so anything else from anybody? All right, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.